it's Umayya Hadid earlier. I did short little video on this subject, right? Shishet, on this ancient Egyptian goddess named Shishet, right? And I did short little video, and I said I was gonna do a video on her and take you guys somewhere that you guys haven't been before, because we're all telling stories, right? So if we're going to waste stories based on sources, then maybe you guys need to evaluate your sources, right? God is the source ultimately, but then we're also gods, right? So we are the source, but you need information and a language to decipher the source, right? That's all it is. Not, oh, I'm gonna base my ideas on this person and build on it, because that's what we're doing. When you say, oh, give me the source, you're building on top of another person's, right? So I don't worry about sources. God is my source, period. So her name is spelled several different ways, right? But if I translate in the Somali or the Kushite language, right, this is where all of this came from. The ancient Egyptian language is not dead. It's not a dead language. It's still living. It's just evolved and it's just changed. But the words are still there in the actual culture. So, Sishet or Shishet. So, what is Shishet in Somali? Shishet means like a peak hole, or like a focus hole. You know, that's where the idea came of having a what's that thing called, binocular, looking things with one eye, right? You're focusing it. So having like an eagle eye perspective on things. So she was the ancient Egyptian goddess of writing, wisdom, knowledge, and she was the daughter of Tahuti and Ma'at. Hello. Of course she was the daughter of Tahuti and Ma'at, right? Her name means female scribe, and she's the one that's credited on the feminine side with writing. She's also identified with the goddess of science, accounting, architecture, astronomy, astrology, building, mathematics, and surveying. Obviously. Yeah, so if she's the goddess, she is also identified as being the goddess of mathematics, right? Or math. Well, obviously, because she's the daughter of Ma'at, the one that actually balances the account, right? The goddess of justice, that's her mother. And Tahuti, y'all know who he is. So, I want to get into the surveying. She was also the goddess of surveying. So she was the one who drew the borders or the boundaries for people. Yeah, so clan boundaries and territorial boundaries. So she was in charge of territorial integrity. And I'm sure if you guys look at her, how do you spell her name? If you want to Google it, you can Google her name. It's spelled Seshat. So, like I said, in the Somali, you have something on your Shishat, so that means that you basically know the whole game plan. And Shishat is the one that's keeping the Akashic record, because she's the record keeper. She's the child of Ma'at and Tahuti. Wisdom and mathematics. Wisdom and science. Right? So, I'm saying all of this to say, she was also named or called or known as the the keeper or of the stretching of the cords. What's stretching of the cords? When you're surveying a land, you're stretching a cord, right? Back in the old days, you stretch a cord, and then you put the boundaries, right? You set the boundaries. This belongs to this side and this belongs to that side. So obviously she's balancing and drawing boundaries for people. So when you go back into the books and you're kind of like paying attention, when during colonialization, when a lot of experts, right, people from the learned community went to other places and they start. Yeah, so if you kind of like pay attention during colonization, right, the 1800s to the 1900s, when they went around, learned people, they were basically wanting to create the Mercator map, right? What is the Mercator map? The Mercator map, or Mercator map, is basically the map for trade. It's like a map for trade, in the old world. So when they went around, they rediscovered and then redone the trade routes to benefit whoever at that time was the big shot callers, right? And that's the fucking dilemma we're in today. That's the problem. That's where we're having issues with borders everywhere around the world, if you pay attention. Yeah? Chaos, you create the problem and then you come up with the solution, right? And then you're suddenly the savior. So you're just kind of redoing and redrawing things that are already there to make fit your own fantasy and your own understanding of the world. But if you go back to her, she was known as the stretcher of the cord, right? Which was which was what a surveyor does, right? Someone that measured property and the land, right? They set the foundation. So the foundations that was set in the 1800s, 1700s, whatever the fuck we're talking about, the last 500 years is the problem, right? And that bullshit has ended, yeah? And if you really look at it, they said surveying comes from ancient Egypt. It came from her or from the Egyptians. So nothing is new in this bullshit world. But sometimes we have a enlightenment period, right? A new age, a new dawn. And we're at that crossroad now, because we're at a crossroad. We are at the end of this crazy 500, 400, 500 years. I say 500 because if you subtract the Islamic time from the Christian times, you're gonna have about 570 years missing. Get it?